Yo.
What up, though?
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
All right, then. It's time for you to bring it to the table.
Turn up your radio wherever you at. We about to bring it.
Street Beat.
Yeah.
With Tony B.
For the next hour, Tony B will give you a chance to tackle local, national, and international issues that affect your community.
Street Beat. Street Beat.
Win.
Tony B.
Good evening and welcome to this week's edition. Talk to you about and someone incredible who is joining me today. We're going to be talking about Converge Media. They've got a brand new distribution deal that I'm excited to tell you more about, and we'll hear more about it. And on top of it, the person that we have here to share this information with us is the amazing Besa Gordon. Besa, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm looking forward to finding out more about the Fox Soul distribution deal. And you're going to find out more about Converge Media. And Besa, I'm so excited to share more about you as well and find out more about your background and where you're from and share that with our listeners. And I just have to say, not only am I a fan, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud.
That means a lot. You know, you're someone that's very legendary out here in this radio world, especially for us people of color. So to hear that from you, that truly does mean a lot. And to also be sitting here with you to be able to tell the story of Converge, talk about my story, that's like just an honor.
All right. Well, if you may not be familiar, Converge was founded by Omari Salisbury and Eric Calligraphy. Converge creates content, independent Black content, and I'm gonna have you just explain, because I can read the bio and do all that stuff. What's up, Omari? You still over there? Is he still over there?
Over where?
Omari, I think he was in Tanzania.
No, he's back.
Oh, he's back.
He's here for now.
Okay, he's back. World traveler, global citizen.
Lives his best life.
And a shameless plug while I'm doing that, along with Converge, who we have wonderful, amazing partnerships with. We're going to be producing pre-debate shows along with debates for Seattle City Council Position 8. That is on the 18th of September, and then also the State Attorney General's debate and pre-debate show. That will be on the 19th, and then OSPI on the 26th. I may have those OSPI and the State Attorney General confused, but it's the 18th, the 19th, and the 26th, and I'll get it right. And again, thanks to Converge for this amazing partnership. And also City Club, Como, and FOX13. Our partner. Besa, I want to find out more about Converge, but we first have to start with you currently, and we're going to go back and talk about, but right now, back to Besa.
Yeah.
On FOX13. Mm-hmm. Finished your first season?
Yes.
Let's talk about Back to Besa and share what that experience has been like for you to do that particular show.
It's been a whirlwind. You know, I think that when it comes to me being in media, it's something that I always wanted to do. Like, I just always wanted to be famous. You know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just always wanted to be famous. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be noticed. I think that's part of being an only child. It's kind of part of your nature. You're either really shy or you want to be noticed. And I wanted to be noticed, heard, and understood. So after being in radio for a while, Omari actually approached me, I want to say in like maybe 2020, a little bit before COVID, or maybe during COVID. And he's like, man, I see you doing all these TikToks and stuff. You should try to like do some TV stuff. Okay. And that's how I ended up getting over at Converge. But within our first conversation, I was like, I want to be on TV. And he's like, look, if you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to do this, and this, we will get you there at some point. Okay. We'll get you there somehow, some way, but it's going to happen. And now it's happened. So the whirlwind of it all for me has been like a feeling of manifestation, but it's also been a feeling of, man, this is really what those 10,000 hours look and feel like, right? So it's moved very fast. it's definitely been challenging. It's definitely tried me to all of my wits end, because you always want to have a good product, but you're not always going to have a good week. Like, you don't always feel good. You're not always, for me, I have my eczema, so I don't always feel like I look my best. And I definitely don't always feel my best when I'm like itching all over the place. But it's been a beautiful journey, because I've been able to tell the story of my community. I've been able to change the narrative of my community. And what's even better about it is I don't do it all alone. Like, it's really not me, like it's me, but it's the team at the end of the day, like Back to Besa could not be Back to Besa without the entire production team over at Converge Media. Like, there's shoots that I'm not on. There's shoots that I don't pitch. There's shoots that, maybe Deontay Damper, she's like, there's this overdose awareness day going on. So he's like, that's what he's like passionate about. Trey Holiday, she's passionate about the community. So she'll like do something on that. I'm passionate about lifestyle things. I love wrestling. I love food. I love wrestling. Let me tell you something, a good day for me, I'll sit at home and watch wrestling for 7 hours straight and clean my apartment, and you won't hear a peep. And if you call me in the midst of it, I'm just like, what? I was actually a ring announcer for Defy one time. It was a blast. But yeah, the beauty of Back to Besa is, when I really first got into this media game back in 2008, that's when I started my blog at Besa.com. My whole goal was to talk about Seattle and show different parts of Seattle and explain the different things that are going on in a way that I actually seen it and in ways that I didn't see other people doing it. Yeah. So with joining Converge and Converge's mission basically already being that and just uplifting Black people within our community and just allowing us to shine in a beautiful level, like the work that I'm not out there with the camera. And that's what I mean when I say, yes, it's me, but it's not me. Like, I'm not out there with the Black magics. I'm not in the back room doing the editing. I'm like, I help, I'm like, hey, let's use this shot. Let's use that shot. This is what the storyline should be. But the magic is really within the team of Converge Media, which allows Back to Besa to just shine so bright.
I love to hear you say that. And I'm not going to take anything away from you, because if anybody could do it, everybody would do it.
And that's
so I'm gonna give you your props. But it is important to have an amazing team of folks.
Yes.
And that's what you have at Converge, is an amazing group of folks. So you've heard, if you are unfamiliar with Converge Media, Besa, share a little bit with us, actually a lot, about Converge Media. You do amazing production work there.
Yeah.
You produce show. You're in Portland now, and talk about Converge Media. And I kind of gave a little brief description, but give us the fat meat.
I would say Back to Besa is a very small part of Converge Media, because it's what people see, right? But there's so many other shows other than just my show. There's like 10 or 15 other shows out there. You got We Live in Color. That is our LGBTQ plus community show, where like they're coming out there, they're able to tell their stories and not be judged and actually really be unapologetically themselves. It's really a beautiful thing. You have Trey Holiday. She has her show The Day with Trey. We say it's like, really,
what's up, Trey?
We say it's like the only show that's really, I don't know about what they have in other cities, but definitely here, where you can actually come and sit down and be on a talk show and tell your story, whether you're telling the story of your event, you're telling the story of your business, whether you're talking about your book. We have Clapback Culture with Julia Jesse, and shout out to her. She just came back. She just had like another baby, and now she's finally back on air. I think she's actually on air right now. I seen something where she was talking about Cardi B. That is like our politics and entertainment show, because she does like, politic recaps, but then she also will talk about, Cardi B just had a baby. Shannon Sharp just did this on the internet. Like, we have so many beautiful shows to where with Converge Media, it's not a one size fits all type thing. Yeah. We genuinely have something for everyone. Our goal is to really just tell the story of the Pacific Northwest. It's not a black and white story, We even have Art of the Matter, which is done by Takia Ward, aka T-Dub, who actually owns the Resold 206. So, you have her art show, but then she also has, the first sneaker dry cleaners. You know what I'm saying? Here in the state of Washington. I don't know what they're doing anywhere else, but this is the first one that's here. So we have so many beautiful shows, and we're just really telling the stories of our people. You know, our whole thing is uplifting.
Yes.
You know, like the uplift is real is what we always say. We're like, Black joy is what our show is about. Everybody else talks about all the negative stuff. Why do we have to do that? But if we do talk about something negative, I trust and believe it's not going to be in a way that is always going to leave you affected. You know, we will talk about different murders, but the way that the cinematography is done, it's not even just like video, it's real cinematography. Like it moves you in a different way that you would actually see it on the news. Like it's weird to say that it's beautiful in a way, but when you see it, you're like, I see what she's saying there.
It is beautiful. And in addition to the shows that you produce, you respond immediately when there are things in the community that are taking place that may be unanticipated challenges that happening. Converges on the spot.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, you want to think about what happened at Garfield a few months ago with Amar. I was up there. Omari was up there. Deontay was up there. Trey Holiday was up there. We were on the ground, you know, and like we're there because this is where we're from, you know, and it's no shade to people that come here and they move here and, you know, they're like, oh, yeah, I got this job over at Fox or come on, and I just moved here. That's great. I'm from here. I grew here. You moved here. You know what I mean? Like my mom is from here. I grew up in the Central District on 19th and Cherry. My grandmother ended up selling her house like a lot of other African Americans did back in the day. And I finally moved back to Seattle, but everybody else in my family, they're out south. They're literally Skyway and beyond. I'm the only person that I'm actually blood related to right now that lives in the city of Seattle. Wow. So, you know, for me, it's like, yeah, you moved here. I literally grew here. And so our attachment to our community, especially within the Central District, all of us within Converge are not from the Central District, but a lot of us are, and a majority of, a big majority of us actually went to Garfield High School. I personally went to Cleveland High School, but I think that all of our schools are amazing. So I would say the reason why we are on the ground so quickly is because we genuinely are from here. We grew here. So we really are passionate about what happens within our community. It's not just some box that we have to check. It's not, hey, my boss is calling me, I have to go. It's, yo, that's my cousin's cousin, or that's little Jimmy from down the street, or man, you know, that's my niece. That's, oh my goodness, I just got done seeing her walk across the street, or I was at my friend's house, or that's my homegirl. Like we know these people through somebody or directly. So it hits a little different.
Very, very well said. Again, this is Tony B. You're listening to Street Beat. We are talking about Converge Media. My special guest joining me is the amazing, incredible Besa Gordon. Thank you so much for being here. Now, we were talking about the response in the community. Y'all do so many uplifting, inspirational shows. And you talked about when you cover something that it may be a tragedy, it may be something, but you have the opportunity to tell it from our perspective.
Period.
Yeah. And unashamedly, I'm saying unashamedly, you announce your Blackness.
Yeah.
When doing these shows. And I think that for the community, that's important.
Absolutely.
That is, and so just on that alone, because we talk about media, let's talk about the role that Black media and Converge plays in the role of Black media. And there is a thing called Black media.
Yeah, I think the role, and I'm one to where I don't like to speak for anyone but myself. So I'll say the role that I play. I don't want to speak for anyone else. But I would say the role that I play for Black media is I show that you don't have to change who you are to get where you want to be.
Okay.
I don't have to sugarcoat my thoughts and my feelings. Maybe I just won't talk about a certain subject if I feel like I don't want to. But I don't have to sugarcoat anything that I'm talking about. I don't have to be like, oh, I need to make this all nice and fluffy. No, it is what it is. It's hurt. I'm sad. I'm crying. Like, it's important for people to see, but also feel our emotions while they also hear our emotions. And I think that a lot of times, and I don't necessarily think it's like this everywhere, but here in the Pacific Northwest, A lot of times when you're Black, you end up having to water down who you are in order to fit in order to get that news job. You know, it's like, okay, I have to talk like this. I have to code switch that. We're not code switching that Converge. Like, it is what it is. You get what you get. You know what I mean? You might get me dressed like this. You might get me dressed in a whole, you know, maybe in like a nice dress. Sometimes I might be in sweatpants. You're going to get what you're going to get from me, and it's going to be however I feel that day. Okay. I'm not going to sugarcoat my language. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be disrespectful by any means, but I'm not going to code switch how I feel in that moment. I'm not going to put on my corporate voice to make you comfortable, because you're not going to put on a voice to make me comfortable. So why should I have to? So I think that the role that I play, and at least the role that I see a lot of my colleagues play, is we are who we are. And we're showing the world that you can still be who you are and be where you want to be. And if it's in media, you can be in media and be exactly who you are. Because the media people over in New York, they're not changing who they are. Okay. It's just over here, some people might water it down a little bit. I don't think you water it down at all, personally. I think you are exactly who you are. You get what you get. Exactly. And I think that is what really carries people. And that's what sets certain people within media apart, especially ones that look like us. And I think that for me, with being on TV and being myself and being able to talk about, you know, my skin disorders and being able to be honest about, hey, this is my dad. This is where my dad works. Like, I literally did a whole take your daughter to work day at my big age of 34 and went to my dad's job, and we just was kicking it. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh my God, I hate you. But in like the best way, because he scared me. Like, you know, dads are just like, bro, you're like, ah. But because see,
I understand.
But you know, it's like I don't feel the need to water down who I am, and none of my colleagues do either. You know, so it sometimes can intimidate people, but sometimes I'm like, but why are you intimidated by me being me? I'm not being rude. I'm just being strong.
Yes. My guest again, Besa Gordon. You know, I don't call it, ends up being a warning to folks sometimes, but it's not a warning. I remind them that when they come on this program, that we have open, honest, frank discussion.
Period. As you should.
And that's what it is. It's just open, honest, frank discussion. Again, my guest, Besa Gordon, back to Besa on FOX13, part of Converge Media. Converge Media signed a distribution deal. Well, Emmy Award winning Converge Media signed a distribution deal with Fox Soul.
Yeah.
National.
Ain't that a beautiful thing?
Congratulations. Congratulations.
You know what I've been saying? I've been saying the Pacific Northwest is going national now. Because that's how I feel about it. Our stories are going to be national, to where people can stop being like, are there Black people here? Yes, there are. And this is what we're doing. And this is how we're living. And this is how we're moving. And now you get to see it on a national level.
Yes. And I mean, I'm not bringing up, I am kind of bringing up the political stuff, but when former President Trump mentioned Seattle,
Ciao.
The most powerful media organization to cover that was Converge Media.
That's actually how I found out about Converge.
And that is the strength of Black media. That is the strength of Converge Media. That is where, again, you got the stories and the messages from what was happening in the Chaz or Chopper or whatever it was called at that time. And again, that was just the leadership, the fearlessness, and the independence of Black media. So Fox Soul.
Yeah.
Fox Soul. This is a new thing, right? The Fox Soul is
not that new.
Not that new. No. Tell me about Fox Soul.
I've known about Fox Soul for a while. It's basically, in a nutshell, it's like BET without the cussing. You know, it's like Black Fox. You know, because I can be owned by Fox. Yeah. So, you know, a Fox Soul, you'll turn it on and you'll see different TV shows like, I want to say like 8 Seconds is what one's called. Another one's called Face Off. You have another show called Portia. There's another show I want to say is called The Taste of maybe Brooklyn or somewhere over New York. It's a really dope channel where Black people are just able to be Black. Whatever your facet of Blackness is. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. There is a spot for you there, and you're going to find a different show that you like. You know, they have entertainment shows, they have news shows, and then now, you know, they're going to have Converge, where they're going to have stories about Blackness within here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond.
Yeah, that's another level. I want to talk about this in a way, because that is really amazing and incredible that this has happened. Leading up to this, what were your thoughts? What were your feelings about? Well, wait a minute, you know, this is another step. How did you feel about that? You know, prior to actually, because there's a point in time where you get it done and you're there, but until you get it done, it's not done.
I've had a multitude of emotions, because one, when I found out that we were going to sign a deal with Fox, I was like, wow, like, so what does that really mean for everybody? Like, how's that going to look? Like, you know, but at the same time, again, I'm just like, the Pacific Northwest is going national. People are going to see us in a bigger light, because like you said, everyone talks about Seattle and CHOP, or they talk about like the fentanyl. We are so much more than that. Like, I'm not scared to walk outside. I mean, at certain times of night, I might not go outside. I'm not going to hold you. But we are so much more than just the protests. Yeah. That is something that happened. That is something that will live with anyone that was here forever. But we are so much more than just that. And so with signing the deal and knowing that we're going to be able to release some of our stories on there, I was elated. And I just at one point was like, well, this is a lot to process. And then I realized, well, it's go time. Like this is what we've been waiting for, you know? I think that when you have companies like Converge and you're telling stories like the ones that we're telling, you want for people like FOX13 to notice you, because you want for your story to be seen by as many people as possible. So that way, as many people as possible can understand how you felt when you created that story.
Well, you not only do you do great work, you also supported by the community.
Yeah.
And like, I'm excited to be able to share with our listeners, you know, your success and the success of Converge. And Converge gives back. It's a two-way street. And that's kind of unusual, you know. And again, I have honest, open, frank conversation.
As you should.
Black media in Seattle wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. I understand. Everybody was kind of fighting over the same nickel. This is a little different in that the support that we show each other as Black media is an example of what we can do by working together.
Yeah.
And uplifting each other.
Yeah.
And so that's just, so back to Fox Soul. So the distribution deal, what does that, you kind of talked about it a little bit. What does that mean for somebody who is a layperson and doesn't really know distribution deal? Well, what does that mean?
Think of it this way. You'll see like a show, like a Sherry Shepherd show, and it'll be on like 15 different channels.
Okay.
I think that's like the most blanket way to put it, you know, because it's like the show's not owned by them. Our things are not owned by them, but they distribute it for us. Yes. You know, you might be able to buy Stanley cups at Walmart, Target, and Fred Meyer's, but they don't own them. They distribute them. So you go to the store and you buy it here, you buy it there. And the companies will be like, hey, I want to sell my stuff here. Or somebody will be like, hey, I want to sell your stuff there. In our case, it's we want to broadcast your stuff.
Yes. But the content is Converge's content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We own it.
And they're simply distributing it.
Yes.
Nothing's changing with Converge, where you have an entity that is now in charge of the messaging. No. Or in charge.
And we would never.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to speak for you, but I'm sure that you would agree with that. We would never.
That is so simply taking the content that Converge creates in a wide array of subjects and topics, and then saying, okay, we're going to show this nationally. We're going to place it here. We're going to play it. Is that accurate?
I think that when it comes to distribution deals, and you know, I can't speak for all of Converge, but what I can say is that we do have some some shows that we work with that will be getting shown on Fox. Back to Besa is actually one of them. So pretty soon I'll be able to announce what day that you'll be able to watch Back to Besa each week on Fox Soul.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a thing.
Beautiful.
So when we say distribution deals, it means different things for different sections of the company, which is why it's kind of hard to explain it. But the overall gist of a distribution deal is we own our content. They will show our content on their platforms.
Yeah. You are listening to Street Beat. It's me, your host, Tony B. We're talking about Converge Media. Converge just signed, it's been maybe a couple weeks now, a distribution deal. You will soon be hearing, watching Converge Media content on Fox Soul. My guest sharing this information with us is Besa Gordon. FOX13, Back to Besa. But you started a while ago.
Yeah.
And this has been a journey for you.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
How long have you known that you have wanted, you talked about this a little earlier if you're just tuning in, that you wanted to be in media? It is not something that is easily accessible to African Americans.
Yeah.
And in particular, if you're trying to maintain your voice.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not talking about it. It takes a lot of different ways and means to get through this thing and make it happen. And, I'm going off here a little bit. Because I remember in the 50s, we had been through a period of creating our own independent. We've been making independent films since the 19-teens and the 1930s, 1940s. Black films were shown all over the country. Over 1,000 theaters showed Black independent films. Now, if you were white, you sat on the main floor. And if you were Black, you sat in the balcony. If there was no balcony, on the main floor, the white folks would fill up the place, and if there was room left, Black folks would sit in the back. This was to watch films made by Black folks, produced by Black folks, sharing our message, sharing our image. Well, in the 50s, a kind of weird thing happened. There was this hope that once there was integration, that it would work out, and that we would be involved in some of the big movie projects in Hollywood and be part of that whole scene. And instead of showing our own images of us in the way that we wanted to depict ourselves, we became maids, servants, butlers, and all kind of foolish characters. And that is how Hollywood depicted us to this country and to the rest of the world. And so I so admire people who stood up, during this period of time. And Harry Belafonte refused to make any more movies during that period of time. But then you had people like Sidney Poitier who did, and nothing against Sidney Poitier, because it was what had to be done at the time. So we're not just one thing. We're not a monolith. All of that to get to the point that we are now, where Converge is taking advantage of this independence.
Yeah.
And demanding in this independence. So just on that historical aspect of it, because this is historical, that this is taking place, and maybe you're saying, you know what, I'm doing this, I'm not really thinking about it, or it is very conscious for you. Is this a very conscious thing where you say, I'm being a role model for independent Black media?
I think it's layers. Growing up, I've always been a kid to where I'm like, if I want to do this, my parents have never said that I couldn't. My aunts and uncles have always been like, if you want to, go for it. You'll do it. So I've always been raised in a way to where I've just been like, hey, go do it. You want to run track, go run track. You want to be on a dance team, go be on a dance team. You want to be in media, go do that. You know what I mean? So I've never... I was born in 1989, so, it's not like I'm one of these like new age Gen X kids or anything like that, to where I grew up on social media in that way. But I definitely grew up with a radio in my room. Okay. And so I would always listen to the radio. 6th grade, I'm listening to T-Man in the morning, listening to Eddie Francis and Tiffany Warner, listening to Super Sam. And, I just thought that radio was so dope. And I didn't know why I thought it was dope growing up, but I thought it was dope. Yeah. So I would always call in and request and try to win tickets. And that was just a part of my childhood growing up. So in doing that, every once in a while, my family would be like, man, she talks so much. And da, 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 da. And I'm like, well, maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know. And I was just always on the computer, just blogging. And, I built my first computer when I was in 6th grade over at Rotary, the Rotary Boys and Girls Club. And so I've always been into computers and electronics and, doing graphics and things like that and learning how to edit audio and things of that nature. And so when I graduated high school, that's kind of where the whole thing of me wanting to do something that kind of represented the city. I had like a really bad breakup, to be honest. And I just needed to do something to keep myself busy. So I was just reading blogs all the time. And I'm like, man, nobody talks about what's happening out here. No one's talking about our clubs. No one's recapping our concerts. Like, no one's talking about our artists. Like, we got dope people out here too. So I was like, I'll do it myself.
I'm going to pause you right there, and we're going to start from high school. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in about 3 minutes, and we're going to pick up the life of Besa at high school.
He's like, what?
Again, you're listening to Street Beat. It is me, Tony B. We're talking about Converge Media, and we're talking about Converge Media's new distribution deal with Fox Soul. And here to share this information with us is Besa Gordon. We talked a little bit about Back to Besa. We're going to keep bringing that up, and we're going to share with folks how they can watch and when they can watch, and you finished your first season. So give us about 3 minutes, and we'll be back with more right here on Street Beat with me, your host, Tony B.
I'm Paul Pearson, host of Star Time, and when I'm not cooking up a batch of my famous wood-flavored chicken, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Never went over a friend's house to eat, and the food just ain't no good.
Xavier Holmes, Alex Jackson.
From day one, charter public schools set us up for success.
We learn from teachers who create tailored lesson plans
and collaborate with classmates from diverse backgrounds.
As a result, many of us outperform students in traditional public schools.
And we all walk away better prepared for our futures.
Learn more at wacharters.org. Paid for by Washington State Charter Schools Association.
The beat of the Fox with nastiness is back on K-Fox Night Beat.
Yo, what's the deal? It's the legendary Hall of Fame DJ Mixmaster Ice UTFO.
What's up? Who you thought this is? This is Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And this is Terry Lewis.
And I'm Grand Mixer GMS.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Third Degree.
This is JJ Hudson from the High Children family.
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
That's right. Noise.
Peace.
Rainier Avenue Radio presents All Music, All Day Saturday. Music, All Day Saturday.
This is Edward Bailey, Bulldog Blue.
Jazz from the Cabinets.
That's right. It's time once again for Jazz from the Cabinets. Big Poppy.
Start Time.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul Pierce.
This is Start Time. Saturdays, all music, all day. Reggae Hour, K-Fox Night.
Looking for the perfect beat? Yeah, it's the beat of the vibe.
Fresh Juice, D-Money in there.
Myself, Too Money. Size
Taylor Hart.
Sincere, the Northwest Rap Gang.
DJ Medina. Jackson. Northwest Rap Gang.
Sergio Lacour's Love Line.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio Lacour. Go to the phone lines. Hello.
Sea Monster Radio. Mojang. It's your day.
Welcome to Mojang Mondays. This is KZ of KZ Music Media. Apologize for Mojang Mondays.
Just like God is inspiration all day and all night. Saturdays. Rainier Avenue Radio.org.
Do you have an idea for a community project in your neighborhood?
You could be eligible for up to $50,000 in funding through the City of Seattle's Neighborhood Matching Fund. Grants are awarded to grassroots projects that build stronger communities, with an emphasis on projects led by impacting Black, Indigenous, and people of color BIPOC communities. To learn more about the Neighborhood Matching Fund or to see if your project meets the criteria, visit seattle.gov/neighborhoods/NMF.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
Well, hey, what you call between myself and Besa, the same thing that we're doing now. But now I guess we're, we've been on.
Apparently.
You know what I do love? I love live radio.
It's a moment.
I love live radio. So we're talking about high school.
Yeah.
You get to high school, you'd already built your own computer and blogged and blogged.
And built websites.
And website. How did you navigate, and how were you planning to navigate this thing of, okay, well, now I want to do this for real. I want to do this as a career. I want to do this as a living. What are my options out there for me to grow into this media person that I want to be?
I felt like I just didn't really have a choice because I didn't want to do anything else. I've always kind of been that person where it's like, I just want to be paid to be me. Some people want to be doctors, others want to be lawyers, someone want to be NASA. I just want to be Besa and be paid to be Besa. Okay, so whatever facet of that is, that's what I wanted to do. And so within starting the blog, I started getting like all these artists hitting me up being like, hey, can you do an interview with me? Can you come check me out on my show? Can you listen to my album? Yada, yada, yada. So that's when I started going to different shows and meeting more people. So then eventually I started doing a podcast. And that's actually how I met your producer, Daniel Bellis, because I ended up doing a podcast over on Juice Radio. And so eventually...
Shout out to Daniel Bellis and Fresh Juice. You can hear Fresh Juice from 9 to 11 every Wednesday right here on Rainier Avenue Radio, except that when he's on Fresh Juice, he's D-Money. Okay.
This is true. I definitely knew him as D-Money. Hi, D. But anywho, eventually, I really wanted to just, like, I've always wanted to be on the radio. I just didn't really know how. So, you know, you start out with podcasting, you start with your blog, you do YouTube, things that's like easily accessible. But for me, it's like, let me at least have some sort of a portfolio, right? So I started over at iHeart in 2015, I want to say, on their street team. And my whole thought was, I just need to get my foot in the door. Once I'm in the door and the right opportunity comes, I'll be able to go on the radio. And eventually the right opportunity came. And so, you know, by carrying...
You know, I'm going to say this. You have to be ready for opportunity.
This is true. And this is why I needed the things that I was already doing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I mean by the portfolio. So, you know, I'd already been doing the blogging. I'd already been doing the social media stuff. I'd already done the podcasting. I already knew how to edit audio. I already knew how to edit video. And just a multitude of other things that you actually need to know in terms of radio, especially in terms of knowing how to review music, listen to music, critique music, talk about different things that are happening in the media. And just explain things to your audience in a way that they are listening to you, but still hear color, if that makes any sense. And so after carrying tents and working one day when it was cold outside, I was like, this is for the birds. I need to move inside. And so I'm not doing this street team stuff anymore. I think I did it for like maybe a year and I was like, I'm good. So I moved into the office, and then, you know, at that time, Cube would come and go. It was Cube 93, and it went to 104.9. I actually still have a 104.9 hoodie at home somewhere. And then it came back out of nowhere after it was Power 93.3. Then that was ripped off. And then it came back as Cube 93.3. And I was like, oh, this is my moment. And so this was in 2018. And I knew it was my moment because it was an all new crew. the only ones that were left was Tiffany Warner and DJ Super Sam.
Well,
That was it.
Super Sam was there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all that was left. Everybody else was brand new.
Okay.
Including the program director and the assistant program director. Nobody else knew anybody. You know, you had the 2 OGs that were on the radio, but the people that actually ran the station, they didn't know nobody here. So I was like, well, I know a lot of people here. So one day after my in-office shift, I basically walked around the corner. I did my research to figure out who the program directors was, what time he would be on air. I noticed what shifts were still open. I was like, okay, they don't have an overnight. They're still looking for people for the morning show. There's space for me somewhere.
Okay.
And so I literally moseyed my little way on back there and knocked on the window when the on-air light was on and was like, hi, I'm Besa. No, you don't know me, but I'm a promotions assistant. However, I'm actually from here. Do you have a second? And he was like, yeah, come in. So I come in, I just, I told him who I was. I let him know what I've done in terms of podcasting and, blogging and what I do on social media and on YouTube. And, after about 2 minutes of me talking, I just straight up was like, I'm not even gonna hold you. What do I do to get on cue? And he was like, I like that. Because apparently he started in radio the same way that I did by just literally rolling up on people and just being hungry for it. And so within me doing that, he started showing me how to seg the radio. And because that was something that he needed help with segging the tracks. And so basically, if you guys have ever listened to the radio and you hear like music crashing into each other, somebody didn't do their job that day. Like, you have to actually go in there and do things. So he showed me how to make sure things like that don't necessarily happen. He showed me how to load the mixtapes for like, the Friday night mixtapes or mixtape today and things like that. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, he was like, yo, send me your air checks. And I was like, sure. And then I ran into another studio. I was talking to Zan, who she now is a program director over in Houston, Texas. I was like, I want to be on the radio. And Eric told me to send him an air check. What the heck is an air check? And she was like, oh my God, Besa, this is your moment. And so she explained it to me. I was like, great. How do you use these freaking studios? Because I never touched them. And so she showed me how to use the studio. She helped me make my air checks.
For the uninitiated, an air check is?
It's basically your radio audition. So it's like, you'll take 2 songs and put them together and you'll be talking in between them. And it'll be like, all right, that was Say So by Doja Cat right here on Q93.3. Coming up next, we have this, and this. But right now, it's Drake with headlines or something like that. You know what I mean? Or you might do like a news break in the middle of, or you might do like a breaking news, or you might do, man, I just recently went to like this new restaurant. I had da-da-da-da-da, and like to kind of show your personality. It's literally you putting together a tape that's like about anywhere between a minute and 3 minutes of what you would sound like on the radio with about 6 different breaks.
Okay.
And so recorded that, sent that in. He gave me like some critiques on it, went back, did another one. And then within like about a month or 2, I was doing overnights on Q.
Wow.
And that's where it started.
Wow. And let's talk about that and the comfort level, because it is a skill. Introducing a song is one thing.
Yeah.
But then adding those other elements.
Yeah.
That's another level of doing it. And it's just a different thing. Introducing music is cool. And but if you have to start talking about other things, like you were mentioning, well, what now? What will this audience find interesting? That's where you get to put your personality.
Yeah, that's where it becomes fun.
Yeah, into it. Let's talk about that. And going into that area, and for you say it's just kind of what you naturally did.
Yeah. Well, what Eric Rosado, that was my program director that gave me my first chance in radio. He would be like, when you crack the mic, you need, which is basically when you start talking on the mic, so if I don't know. He's like, when you crack the mic, you need to know where you're going. Like, don't just talk just to talk. Like, know where you want to end it at and what you want for people to get out of it. And then also when you're talking, talk in a way as if the audience doesn't know what you're talking about. So don't just be like, oh yeah, I went to the subway down the street. Be like paint the picture of where it is down the street.
I like to call radio, and this is why I love radio so much, theater of the mind.
Yeah.
Because you do get to paint that image. You watch something, you get your own, but doing radio, you have the opportunity to create a landscape, and you can paint the entire landscape, or you can leave places that are open for people to interject their own thoughts of what this was. Anyway, go ahead.
I absolutely concur, or as you and even O would say, I understand. So, you know, he would always say, you have to know where you're going. Like, don't just talk just to talk. Like, if your whole point is to be like, you know, such and such had a baby today, or man, I just went to McDonald's and found a hair in my food. Like, know exactly why you're saying that and what you want the audience to get out of you saying that. Like, don't just talk just to talk, essentially. And so for me, that's where show prep comes in. If you don't do any show prep, you better be really, really good at it. Eventually, I didn't have to do a lot of show prep. Like, I could honestly just wake up and then just turn on my microphone and then I could just go. But that took years of practice.
Do you hear what she just said? That thing that sounds so natural and effortless is natural and effortless, but it took years. And we talked about that earlier. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Street Beat. It's me, Tony B. My guest is Besa Gordon. Converge Media, Back to Besa on FOX13. But you shared the story of how you came into this situation when your opportunity presented itself. You were ready.
And I seized it. Sure did. All my coworkers were like, I didn't want to bother him. Well, snooze, you lose. Tough nuggies. I'm gonna be on the radio. Bye.
So you're doing overnights. And then from there, how does the growth continue to happen?
I just kept bothering my boss and was like, I don't want to do this shift anymore. I want to do nights. I was like, the guy that does nights doesn't even live here. What are you doing? I think that when it really comes down to it, and within this media game, if you want something and you have the ability to you have to knock on that door, but you also kind of, like you said, you have to be ready for it. And for me, I kept being like, I want this. And he'd be like, okay, you just got here. And I'm like, but I'm dope. And he's like, but you just got here. And I'd be like, I don't care. And so I would continue to work on the things that he would want me to work on, to where eventually they put me in that night slot to where I was doing 7 to midnight. I think it was maybe, let's see. I got on the air, I got on the radio in October 2018. Not October 2019. May of 2019 is when I took over nights on Q. Okay. So it was less than a year later that I went from overnights to nights. And then I held down nights for about maybe a year and a half. And then I moved up to middays.
Okay. All right. And your interaction, you kind of talked a little bit about this earlier, your introduction to Converge.
So my introduction to Converge was actually during the pandemic. And at that time, I was still doing nights on Cube. And I lived on South Lake Union at the time. And where my apartment was, it was right by that Denny Hill. So I could hear the protesters going up and down the hill. And so sometimes I'd run outside and see what was going on. And then I'd run back inside because they sent us radio kits. So we were recording our shows from home. So I'm live on the radio in between songs. And I'm like, I could run outside and I'd run back inside and be like, okay, you guys, they're coming up the hill and they're on Denny. So if you guys are coming up the hill, or if you're in this area, definitely don't go that way. Or maybe you want to join the crowd. I don't know, but I'm just letting you know where they're at. And so eventually I would watch the news, and then I would hear about things on the news, and I was like, well, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
And somehow, some way, in this very moment, I don't know how I fell across a video that happened to do with Converge. I had no freaking clue in this very second. But what I do know is that when I watched it, I was like, I don't know who this Omari person is or who this Trey Holiday person is, but they are telling the truth. Yeah. What they're saying is exactly what happened. What I'm hearing on the news and what I'm watching on the news is not what just happened. I'm because I'm on Twitter, just looking through all these different videos, and then I'm seeing the news version of it. And I'm like, that's not what just happened. I just watched this on somebody's live stream, because that was when live streaming was really starting to blow up. So people would really just be there with their iPhones. And then eventually I came across Omari's videos. And so that's also how I started realizing different things that were truly going on. Then I realized that he was always going live. And, you know, so I started watching the morning update show a lot more, and I started calling it my Black CNN, because to me, they were the only ones that really kept it real about what was like. It didn't matter if it felt good. It didn't feel good being out there, okay? Like, there was nothing fun about that. It wasn't supposed to feel good. The truth doesn't always have to feel good. So for me, I would watch them and I would be able to digest what they were talking about. And I would talk about them and the different things I would see on the radio. And it would also let me know what's happening, or it would give me a recap of what's happening, because Omari would actually be out there on the ground. And, you know, he'd be like, oh yeah, you know, these reporters are saying this, and this is really what happened. And I'd be like, I wasn't tripping. And so I became a huge fan of Converge Media. Eventually, one of my friends, she knew that I would always like watch, and I was like very in tune with the protests, because again, I'm on the radio, I'm at home, you know, it's COVID, and I'm like updating my audience that's listening on the radio on what's happening in real time. And she's like, you know, you should add Omari on Facebook. He's always like posting about it. I was like, I tried. He hasn't accepted me yet. And this was on Twitter. So he was like added in that. He added me right back afterwards. But that was actually, I think, when he found out about me. And so then he's, you know, how Omari is. He's like, well, who is this? Like, she's on the radio. She does this. She does that. Ironically, I actually had to start on C-Spot years ago, which is owned by Chikandi Salisbury, which is Omari's older brother. So I didn't even know that there was an Omari for all these years, just because he was never here. He was always, I think he was like always overseas back then. So I had never met him. I only knew, I only knew Kind and Tune. So he does his research on me, and then eventually he hits me and is like, you know, have you ever thought about doing TV? And so that's when that aspect comes into it. So I start doing a show on Converge called Rewind with Besa. He actually told me, he was like, if this is something that you're interested in, make me a deck about what you would want the show to be about. So I made him a deck, met with him over at the studio. And then, I mean, I hate to term the rest is history, but hey.
And you know, again, just for someone, because we're sharing some of the jargon. So when you say a deck,
kind of like a PowerPoint. You know, it's like, you know, you want to do your own TV show. What is it going to look like? What's it going to be about? What is your bio? What is the show going to be called? You know, who do you want to be able to watch your show? What's the demo that you want? Age, you know, male, female, both? I don't know. But it's literally.
And I say that because once again, they said you were prepared for the opportunity.
Yeah.
You were prepared for the opportunity. But let's go ahead and finish up what you were.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I made him a deck, basically a PDF file of what I wanted my show to be, presentation. And we started Rewind with Besa on Converge back in 2020. Rewind with Besa literally went all the way until, what are we in? 2024 now? I started Back to Besa in 2023. That's when Rewind with Besa stopped. So from 2020 to 2023, we had Rewind with Besa on Converge, and it had like its different ways that I would do it, because I would kind of like just try to change what was interesting to me. And then when Cube was pulled, I just eventually started bringing in just different interviews into iHeart, because they didn't let me go. They let me stay there, and I would just do like different media things there. So I just started interviewing people 5 days a week. And that was Rewind with Besa. And I would, you know, I'm interviewing council members, I'm interviewing artists, I'm interviewing different wrestlers. Like I said, I like wrestling. So, you know, I'm just interviewing dope people within the community. And then one day I get a phone call from Omari, and he's like, "You're going to the big leagues, kid." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "FOX13. I was like, "What are you talking about, Willis?" And so, you know, we started Back to Besa on FOX13 last July. So it's been a year now. And then I want to say it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, he's like, "Well, you're up." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, Fox Soul wants you to do a show. And I was like, well, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's been, Converge has probably been the most challenging media company that I've ever worked with, but in the best way. And it's because Omari only wants the best for his people. And sometimes when you want the best for your people, you're going to be like, go do it again. Yeah. And you might not want to do it again, but you're being asked to do it again for, I don't know, the betterment of your career. A little muscle memory, if you will. So it's been challenging because he's not the type that just let you slide by with just sliding by. And so it's challenged me over the years to become, you know, who I am today. To where now you stick me on the news, freaking wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go down to FOX13 every single Thursday. I talk about what's going to be on the show. Nowadays, I don't really have any notes unless I really, really have to have notes. But for a while, I had a big iPad in front of me because I needed my notes and I was always nervous. But, you know, practice makes perfect.
Two parts to this. You mentioned the respect that you had for your program director at Cube, and then also Omari. How important in your career is it to have those types of influences? That's the first part. Then the second part of that is, does that inspire you to want to inspire others? Because those are two different things.
I think that is very important. I think it's just as important of if you are starting a business and then you have a mentor that helps you to start that business. So that way you're not making crazy mistakes. It allows you to kind of like skip a few levels, if that makes any sense. Like, I mean, you still gotta do the work, but you're not having to figure out every single level on your own. Like someone is giving you kind of like, I don't want to say it's a cheat code, but it because if you either have it or you don't at the end of the day. But if someone is like, hey, you just need to do this, you need to do that, and then you do it and it works, it kind of is a cheat code if you actually have it, if that makes any sense. I definitely think it's an important part of my career. I definitely don't think that I would be where I am right now if it wasn't for Eric Rosado to give me that chance on radio, let alone Omari freaking being like, hey, let's see what this TV thing would be like. You want to be on TV? Let's see what happened. And what happened? We went from me being online to being on FOX13 and now moving over to Fox Soul.
Fox Soul.
Fox Soul.
Fox Soul. When are we going to start seeing content from Converge Media?
You're going to have to wait for the press release.
I'm sorry?
You're going to have to wait for the press release.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I say that because I don't even know the date, but I know it's coming very soon. It's not, I don't feel that it's one of those things where it's going to be a year later. I honestly think it'll be within like the next month or so.
Okay.
But don't quote me. Because again, I don't even know the date. Exactly.
To Street Beat, it's me, Tony B. If you're just tuning in, you need to go back to the beginning after this is over with and hear this wonderful conversation. We've been talking about Converge Media, and Converge Media recently signed a distribution deal with Fox Soul. And so the content that Converge has been creating about our communities, stories about people from our neighborhood will now be shared nationally as well.
Yeah.
Again, this is a big deal and a big shout out to Converge and also to the staff of Converge, because it takes the staff, it takes the personalities, it takes the people who are also behind the cameras, in front of the camera, to make this whole thing work. I'm sure you would agree.
Oh, absolutely. Like I was saying earlier, I can't do it all myself, just like you can't do it all yourself. That's why you got D-Money up there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that he doesn't think he's not, like, everybody needs help somewhere.
Yeah.
So without the help that we all have, you know, if this was just a one-woman show, I wouldn't be able to be like, yeah, you know, I'm going to be able to go on Fox Soul. Yeah, Converge is going to be able to have their stuff on Fox Soul. Yeah, I'm over here on this radio station. I mean, for a betterment of example, Omari's the CEO, but I'm here. He's off doing something else right now. You can't do it all yourself. Like, you need the help.
Yeah. And, you know, there are situations where people are kind of alone on a network. How comforting is it for you to just know that you have your team around you while you're doing this?
I think the best example of how comforting it is for me is, I'm just getting back onto my show after being gone for about 10 weeks. Some people may know, some people don't know. I have eczema. And so I went through a very, very extreme topical steroid withdrawal to where my skin was like, as doctors call, in crisis. So I actually had to take off for 10 weeks in order to allow my skin to heal, because my skin was flaking, it was oozing, it was like cracking, splitting, bleeding. Like, it's when you're going through topical steroid withdrawal, your skin is literally withdrawing from not using the topical steroids, which is what you put on your eczema to calm down the itching, the flaking, and all the things. And so I actually had to take some time off because, one, I was looking crazy because it was literally taking over my entire body. And two, it was stressing me out mentally and emotionally to where I was just crying throughout the day because I just felt crazy. I was itching, I was burning, and it was the craziest feeling that I've ever felt in my life. Like, it's so hard to explain if you've never gone through it, but anyone else that has topical steroid withdrawal, I kid you not, we all say the same things. It's not eczema, it's a whole different beast. But in me doing that, I actually called Omari crying one day because I was like, it's on my face is peeling, it's white, I don't know what to do. And he was like, you know what, we got to give you a break. So literally I think that same day, he sent out an email to the team, and then here comes Deontay Damper, Triana Holiday, Curtis Delgado II, and Takia Ward. Deontay filled in for 4 weeks, Trey Holiday filled in for 4 weeks, T-Dub filled in for 1 week, Curtis filled in for a week, and now I'm back. And so that, that's just one example of what a team looks like when you don't have to do it all on your own, because everyone genuinely stepped up for me to be able to rest, because stress is actually like a really big part of eczema and if I have anxieties, I'll just start scratching. Like, it's the whole thing. It's still to this day because my skin is still healing. But in my craziest moments, my team really stepped up. And they really allowed me to have those moments to heal and just not be seen, because I was like, I can't be in front of the camera anymore. It was crazy. So I would say it's a beautiful feeling. It's not a relaxing feeling because I still got to do my part.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, and it's also humbling to be able to have so many people that are a part of your team that will be like, I'm going to drop this so that way you can be good.
Again, you're listening to The Street Beat. It's me, your host, Tony B. We're talking about Converge Media, the new distribution deal with Fox Soul and Besa Gordon of Converge Media and FOX13. I'd like to do, before we wrap up here, some shameless self-promotion about how folks can watch Converge Media and find out when shows air and all that. Just tell folks and go back and watch some of the previously produced programs as well, and features that Converge.
Well, for one, if you get on an Alaska jet, we have about 8 films on Alaska.
On Alaska Airlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can watch The Day with Trey Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. You can watch Back to Besa on FOX13 Saturdays at 10:30 p.m. Sundays on FOX13 Plus at 10 a.m. You also have Flatback Culture. I think it's like 8 o'clock right now, so I want to say that comes on Thursdays at 7 o'clock. We Live in Color, he just ended his season, but that was coming on Thursdays at, I want to say, 8 o'clock at one point. But I think the best thing for everyone to do is go to whereweconverge.com. That is where you can see all of our shows.
Whereweconverge.com.
Because not only will you see all of our shows, you'll also be able to read our articles, because we also have Converge Music, where we also talk about different artists that are, whether they're here in the PNW, some are beyond the PNW. We have Circling Seattle Sports, where they're doing sports recaps. We have different press releases. We're talking about different events that are happening in the city. We have so many amazing things. Like, we really are like a media company and a news company and so many other things wrapped all into one. So I would say head on over to whereweconverge.com if you are ever interested in learning more and seeing more Black joy and seeing other people within your community being uplifted, and maybe even just learning about someone that you didn't know about. And then, of course, very soon, as I said, stay tuned. I actually posted it in my stories recently. We're going to Fox Soul. So the Pacific Northwest is going national, and then we'll be able to tell our stories on a national level to where more people will understand what the Black experience is here in the Pacific Northwest. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
Yeah, Black media is alive and thriving. I'm going to give you the opportunity for final words here, but I'm going to do a little shameless self-promotion. If you are eligible to vote, then you should be an informed voter. And Rainier Avenue Radio, along with Converge Media, is doing our part. There are debates that are going to be hosted, and Como and FOX13, all of the guys of City Club will be producing these debates, but we're doing a pre-debate show and a post-debate show. During the pre-debate show, we're going to be asking the candidates questions that we feel would be relevant to you. You can participate as well by sending us questions that we will ask of the candidates. And then we also talk to the moderators, because you should know who these people are who are asking questions, and find out where they come from and why they're choosing the questions that they come from. So September 18th is Seattle City Council Position 8. You can catch the pre-debate show at 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock. Then the debate will be 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And then from 8 to 8:30, we'll be doing a post-debate show, having the candidates come back to us and say, well, how do you feel you did? You know, in this particular thing, we'll be talking to the moderators as well. That's September 18th, and that's Seattle Council Position 8. On the 19th, it'll be OSPI. No, it's either OSPI or State Attorney General Besa, and it's I don't remember which right now, but State Attorney, I think it's State Attorney General, and same thing. We'll be doing a pre-debate show at 7 o'clock, the actual debate at 8, and then at 9 to 9:30, a post-debate show. And we're going to try and make sure that during these pre-debate and post-debate shows that we find out information from the candidates, from the moderators that is important to you. And if you have questions that you'd like asked during this time, feel free to email us at rainieravenueradio.world@gmail.com. And that's the whole point of this. I mean, you know what the deal is when you represent the community. You provide the community's voice with amplification. And then on the 26th, yeah, it is State Attorney General on the 19th. On the 26th will be the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. So if you are unhappy about schools, if you're happy about schools, this is the lead person in charge of our public school system. You can listen to what their thoughts are, ask the questions, and then watch the debate, and then come back for the post-debate show. So September 18th, September 19th, and September 26th, Rainier Avenue Radio and Converge Media will be presenting this, along with City Club and Como and FOX13. And so again, Black media is alive and doing what we do. Besa, I would like to give you, well, first of all, thank you.
Thank you
for being here and sharing your information. And I find it courageous, in particular, when we share our health struggles, because a lot of times we like to hide those so that we can seem strong all the time. And I just appreciate you humanizing yourself, you know, because that's going to help somebody who's going through what you're going through. I want to give you opportunity for final words. Anything that you'd like to say to our audience?
In fact, my back itches. I think that my biggest final words would just be a thank you to you. You know, Back to Besa has been on air for, over a year now. And you are actually the first actual Black media to feature anything that had to really do with my story in terms of my show. And if anybody else has a suggestion, speak up. But when I say that, I mean, different publications. I've done a couple podcasts, but this is the first radio. I haven't done any major articles or anything like that. And so I definitely want to thank you for opening up your platform to not only me, but to Converge Media, for us to talk about what we have going on, and for us to talk about, how we are spreading our stories. And when I say our stories, I mean our stories, the things that are happening here, when it comes to Converge, it's really not about us. It's about our community and making sure that people know about the amazing people and the amazing things that are happening within our community, and making sure that it's depicted in a way that actually isn't negative all the time. There's enough negative stuff on the news. We don't need to do that. So I really just want to thank you for allowing me to come here and talk about our different, our actual distribution deal that's happening with Fox Soul. Am I able to say what day that we're going? No, because they don't tell me anything because they know I have a big mouth.
And then you have a platform.
They know that I'll get comfortable with somebody and slip up, so they don't tell me that kind of stuff. But they'll be like, no, you have to wait for the press release just like everybody else makes. Sorry. But in general, I just want to thank you for allowing me to come here and, spread the amazing word of what Converge Media is doing within the community.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure, and you're welcome. Anytime. Anytime. Again, this is Tony B. You have been listening to Street Beat right here on Rainier Avenue Radio .world. Again, we've been talking about Converge Media. Converge Media's new distribution deal with Fox Soul, expanding their Emmy award-winning programming nationally, putting us on the map. And a big shout out to Converge Media, and a very special thanks to my delightful guest joining me, Besa Gordon. Back to Besa. When are you going to be back on?
On Fox?
Yeah.
I came back last week.
Okay.
So this weekend will be my second week back.
Okay.
This weekend we are back. We are literally standing on business, if you will. We're talking about the Black Leadership Conference that recently happened. I went out to Tacoma for the Grill Party Experience, where they did their Seeds the Garden event with some youth, where there was a backpack giveaway, but it was also a talent show. We're talking about Fast Chicken and Waffles. We're recapping Thing Festival, scope screenings, and some more other things of that nature. So yeah, I'm back.
All right. Besa, welcome back. Thanks for joining us here. That's it. That's all the time that we have. That is going to do it for the kid. It's me, Tony B., your host of Street Beat, saying, remember, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you cannot, you're probably right. I'm out. Peace.